the March 9th, 2022 regular meeting of the Board of Selectmen will come to order. If you'd like to join us for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. So any comments from the public? You don't have to, but if you want to say anything.
Good evening, Andre Baumgartner here, Town Councilor. Good to see our friends over from here in Stonington. I know a few weeks ago we met virtually to discuss the North Stonington Bridge among a host of other issues, but obviously look forward to continued partnerships and always a resource.
Thank
It's
you.
good to see you both, see you all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Andre, I can't remember them, but he had some really good taglines for Stonington.
Our nimble neighbors and
nimble neighbors and frugal friends. These are really good.
Nimble neighbors and
frugal friends.
Oh, frugal friends.
Across the river.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
definitely are. That really
We are
cracks us
frugal
up.
New Englanders.
Amen.
Yeah. But thank you. Okay, so could I please get a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes of February 23rd, 2022? So moved. Okay.
I second.
Motion second. Any discussion? No. Thank you, Stacy. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, the motion carries. So under correspondence, we received an application, so exciting, from Christopher Houlihan and Eric Garofano. Say it.
I think it's Garofalo, but it could be
Garofano.
Garofalo.
Who are interested in serving on the Flood Prevention, Climate Resilience, and Erosion Control Board. So that's really exciting because we just opened that and we've already got 2 good applicants.
Yes.
And then under appointments, we.
But before
Yeah.
we start, I just wanted to ask about that because we did get 2, and how many are on that?
5.
There's 5?
And we're gonna keep it open for 2 months so that we're sure people have enough time to learn and read and learn about it.
Okay, so we're not gonna interview anybody until we'll close it for,
I can't hear, so I have to watch
close it for, we'll close it after 2 months and then interview.
Yeah, so we'll close at the end of April and then we'll do interviews at probably our first May meeting.
Okay, all right. Okay.
Yeah, so, and again, if you know of anybody that might be interested in serving on this new board, it will look at flood issues, climate issues, as well as stormwater. So that's really exciting. So we should proactively actually reach out to people that were on the stormwater and let them know
Yes, yes.
if you know anybody still on it.
I'll pull one in and see if it's still
Okay.
around.
So, okay, so moving on to appointments, reappointments, could I give a motion to appoint Anthony Carperal as an alternate member of the Zoning Board of Appeals?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
I second.
Motion a second. All those in favor, oh, sorry, any discussion? Just thank you, Anthony. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. So, for the Commission on Aging, under resignation, Ruth Nolder has resigned from the Commission on Aging. So we'll send her a thank you note acknowledging her service. It's just like you guys know, I know you're the liaison there.
Yeah, so she's moving out of town.
Oh, okay,
So
that's fine.
why, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, please thank her if you see her, but we'll send her that letter. Okay, so here's our big discussion point. So under old business, our discussion on Charter Revision Commission. I know we've all done kind of our own outreach. We've obviously been talking about this for a couple of years and research, but maybe Deb, do you want to start, or Jim, what you're
Doesn't
thinking
matter.
about?
I mean, I have a few notes unless you want to start.
So I would like to indefinitely table it
Okay,
and not open up the charter right now.
okay.
I just think we have, when I see all the other priorities that are happening here right now, that's gonna need our support and our input.
Yeah.
I just think it would just be too much of a dilution of effort for something that's really important. So I just don't feel comfortable opening up the charter without being able to support it in the way that I think it should be supported. I mean, yeah, I could go through the list, you know, this new board that we opened up, just reading some of the grant opportunities for the infrastructure bill and all of the support that's going to be required for that. I mean, these are moments in time that are right now, the charter can be opened at any time and by any board of selectmen, but I think it's our role to really take care of the things that are right before us right now, that are really important, instead of.
You're convincing me.
Right, no, really, instead of opening up something else, so that, right, and our zoning regulations are being rewritten at this time as well, and those, I'll give an update on, about that, comments from the selectmen, but, that's going to allow for a tremendous amount of public input, so, yeah, so I think
That's your thoughts.
those are my thoughts, yeah.
Jessica, sorry, we try to follow the Roberts Rules of Order.
I
I'm happy
understand, I
to
understand, but
pause.
I can't hear.
Okay.
I have to read your lips.
Okay,
And I would just like to know why it's on the agenda for charter revision action to be taken, and now it's being tabled. I understand there are other priorities. However, I
that's
would
the
like to know
action.
the background. I would like to know the background of why you're making a charter revision and what it entails.
well, Jessica, sorry, we've been talking about this for years, on and off again.
You've already, yes, you
But no,
have.
the board
you
has
have.
been talking about this on and off for years, and if you followed the meeting minutes or anything around the past couple of meetings, we talked about all of our project priorities and where we should focus because we're in our new term, so we're trying to figure out where should our project priorities be focused, and so one of the big ones that came up was, should we or should we not open the charter? And we said, this was our deadline we set for ourselves to make a decision, and so we're in the middle of talking about it. We haven't actually made a decision yet to see if we are or are not gonna open the charter. So it's on there because there's a potential action, either yes, we're gonna move it forward and seek a commission, or no, we're not gonna do it. So we don't actually have to do it this way, but we just try and be as transparent as possible for anybody following that. Today's the day where the three of us are gonna decide if we think it is a good idea or not. I still haven't heard from Deb, I don't know what she thinks, and I haven't shared my thoughts.
I understand that, and I semi-hear you.
Okay,
But I would like to note that Rob Simmons, prior selectman, always used the charter revision is the problem. That's why our hands are tied. That's why we do not have oversight. The Board of Education,
we couldn't do that even with our
Police.
charter.
sorry?
The Board of Education is a state issue, we could not do anything
So
in our
this is a
charter.
town charter?
This is a town
Yes.
charter.
And so this town charter governs what? Does it hold your hands behind your back on
No,
action?
it's our
No.
rules, it's helpful, but like what we've talked about, why we wanted to open it was we want to explore, and we don't know the answer, so we want to do research if the selectman's office should be a 4-year term or a 2-year term like
That's
it
it?
currently is.
That's it?
No, I'm still going. If the town clerk and the tax collector should be hired instead of elected. If the WPCA should have alternates, because they don't, there's an assortment of things in the charter that we wanted to potentially look at
Okay,
and explore, but as we're in the middle of the conversation, I don't know where we're going with this yet, but
okay.
we're saying we're unsure if it's worth opening it, because it takes about 2 years to do it, and it's a lot of work. And so we're currently discussing if we should or shouldn't do it.
Wow, so this has nothing to do with your lack of oversight to the Board of Education or
No.
the Police Commission, is that right?
No, the police commission is in the charter, but there's
Town
also.
charter, can we
yeah.
just put town
Sorry, town
or
charter.
state? Yeah, all
But then
right.
there's state statutes, so the state statutes govern how boards of ed are totally separate from the town per state statutes, and I don't know enough legalese, but like, I know that we, in our town charter, there's nothing we could do to gain more oversight of the Board of Ed.
Correct, so
Yeah, that's
you
all
have
state
no
issues.
oversight to Board of Ed or the police, correct?
Yeah, but the police is in our town charter, the police commission, some
Yeah.
of the police commission's authorities do come from state statutes, but the police commission is in our town charter. So that is, but that's
The
not
Board of
something we,
Education is not.
No.
not,
Okay,
nothing
and
we can
am I
change.
right in saying that Board of Education is about 50% or more of the town budget?
Probably about 60%.
60?
Yeah.
That's even worse news. All right, and the police board is how much? Or police,
15, I have to look at that one.
how much is police? 20,
Maybe
19?
20, but I
Okay,
need
so
to
you
check.
got 80%?
No,
No, they're not that much.
No.
You have 18? All right, that's
No, I
close
think it's
enough.
like 8.
Hello?
She thinks it's 8%.
8%?
Yeah.
For the police commission, for the police department.
The whole police department? 8%? That doesn't sound
The,
right.
the highest is the school, then it's DPW, the Department of Public Works.
And
then
how
it's
much is the
police.
CPW?
I don't know off the top of my head, Jessica.
Best guesstimate.
The rest of like 40% of the town budget is split by, human services is only like 2%, I know that. And then there's general government, but I don't know the exact amount, and then police, and then DPW, but I don't know the
Could you
exact.
get me those
Yeah, it's actually
percentages,
on the,
please?
I have it on the town
Because
website.
I'm very upset for the Board of Selectmen not to have oversight, whether it's 60% of Board of Education that you don't have oversight to. I have seen the Board of Ed be disrespectful to the Board of Selectmen. I have seen it, I have
Yeah.
suffered through it.
And I think just that is an issue that would have to be brought up by like Senator Summers, Representative Howard, whoever our
What?
future representative might be from the Mystic side, because that's a state issue. There's nothing towns can do about it.
There's
Towns have
nothing to
zero
tell
control.
you, because it's a state.
State,
Andre, can you help me with that? Or you tell me later? All right, I'm mortified. I said I'm mortified.
okay.
Because you are the town management. I understand you have constraints from the state. So this is not charter revision state.
No,
No.
no.
Wow, I
no.
wish that had been
Well,
Well,
detailed.
we can't do the state
Yeah.
charter. We can't
Well,
just.
I didn't know.
Yeah, we're just
June,
town charter.
I have been told by Rob Simmons for years, you change it, you do it. And I'm like, excuse me, your hands are tied and you're telling me to change the state charter? No, I don't think so. I'm a taxpayer, I'm a shareholder in this corporation. You're the management, correct?
Yeah.
Right. And your hands are tied, ludicrous.
It's like an independent subsidiary that has its own management that we have no control over.
That's right.
Who in the management of the town of Stonington is going to stand up and get the control?
That's the Board of Finance.
Board of Finance.
All right, Tim
But they
O'Brien,
only-
who
they-
else?
Yeah, but they only have a
Lynn
small
Young.
amount of control.
Sorry,
They
what?
only have a small amount of control because they only control their bottom line and they can only make certain reductions.
I've seen that.
Yeah, so they.
Board of Education goes, here's my budget, here's the line item, what's the detail? I'm not telling you.
But just-
And you know what? That's not acceptable.
Yeah, but again, so again, we're happy to, I just want to stay on track here because we have to leave to go to a Board of Finance meeting after this for the police.
Oh, will you
so-
tell them,
But.
I'm not happy because you guys are management.
Yeah, but again,
Thank
it's
you
a
for listening to me,
state
and
issue.
also,
Okay.
I don't go in any place. I've got a son that's immune compromised, I'm over 65, we all know that. I spent 2 years in major operations. I had to do this because this is not fair. This management is not working properly. And your hands are tied at town level, and they're really tied at state. That's why
Okay,
I'm here,
thank you.
but as I said, I gotta go.
Okay, stay safe.
Thank you.
I'm not gonna let this go, it's not
So at 7 o'clock, the Board of Finance is meeting.
But not about this.
Oh, no.
in
Yeah.
person,
Yeah.
Yes.
hybrid, no.
No,
No.
everything.
Caption, no. That's another thing. You got my email today, yes?
Yes, and again, we can talk about this separately because it's not on the agenda, so I'm bringing all
Oh,
sorts of.
all right, well then have your,
Patty.
get back to
there's
me about what
somebody-
the answer
yeah.
on that is. Because we've learned through this pandemic to reach out to the elderly, to the immune compromised, and people who take care of them.
Yeah.
And we've got to expand our line of communication.
Yeah, and we're.
Thank
we're
you very
trying.
much, and I'm sorry to
Thank you.
interrupt like this.
Okay, thank
You
you.
can't read my lips.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Deb, do you
I
want?
gotta go.
Share what you're thinking.
I was gonna say, I'm pretty much along the lines of June. Basically, I wrote a few notes as I've been thinking about it over the past few days. And while I think there are certain aspects that could be key right now, and I think like the alternate for WPCA, because I did spend time in there, and I know how challenging that is. I really believe if you're gonna do something, you have to do it well. And again, we have these immediate and ongoing time-sensitive projects. The brownfield grants, the zoning rewrite, the infrastructure planning and prioritizing, moving forward with the flood and erosion control board, including the stormwater issues that again all fall in the new regs. And with the grant opportunities, I was on a webinar today about the infrastructure grants, and there was so much coming our way, and we could miss it. And it's like an important opportunity that isn't gonna go on
Right, it's
forever.
now, it's like now or never.
It's now or never.
Yeah.
So I'm really concerned that if we open the charter, it would just be diluted, and it would
Yeah.
be a distraction, and it wouldn't get the time that it needs to be done correctly. But that said, I think we should take the time and create a list of things, we're thinking about like WPCA, things that might benefit from a charter change, so we can look at that, because you're right, June, we can open it any time. The other thing, and I had somebody recommend this to me, and I think it's not a bad idea, is look at all the boards and commissions to see if they're really truly aligned, staffed, and have clear mission statements, and make sure they have the tools to do what they need to do. That's just something that as we're
Yeah.
looking at this list, maybe we could look at. So I'm inclined to agree with June that we have so much on our plate and so many things that we really have to concentrate on, that I think that it's just not the right time to do it.
Okay. No, those are insightful comments, and I think, obviously, I've been struggling with this for 2.5 years. Part of me like does really still think, it'd be so good to fix this and like kind of tie it up with a neat bow and, kind of make these changes or improvements, or at least do the research and have it be done. But to what you said kind of just resonated, because maybe we could help, if a future, at a future time or a future administration wants to take this on, we could already have some of the issues outlined that we've identified. We could even start preparing some of the research, and here are the issues we've noticed in our time. And that way we're still getting it prepared in a way. But I'm very like optimistic and hopeful and excited about all these grant opportunities, but I'm also terrified because I've seen, we just don't have enough staff capacity to do our day-to-day, never mind to go after these, and everybody's willing to go above and beyond, but you can only kind of push so far on things, and I am concerned with how much we have going on to try and you have to do the charter well, that something else would have to drop, and looking at those priorities and with the potential grants coming in that we'd have to competitively go after, and all the prep work leading up to even trying to be considered for any of these or find them and identify them, it's gonna be a lot. So those were really good points. So I guess, I think
And we
we
could
can't do
lose some of
everything.
our volunteers we have working on these things.
Yeah.
If they're working on the charter, you're not gonna be able to do
Yeah.
both. It's just so much work.
There's so much work. No, I think you guys are right. And again, I've learned a little bit in the past 2 years now. I can't take out everything, because then you don't end up doing it all well. So it's better to focus on what's the most pressing thing. And like you said, this can happen later. It's not time sensitive. Okay. So all right. Any last?
No, it's how we're governed, right?
Yeah.
So it's not something that should only be given 50% of the time to. And and with these grants and some of these other opportunities that we have, the next, in 2 years, those opportunities are gonna be gone.
Yeah.
So in 2 years, the charter could be open, like it can be opened at any time,
Yeah.
but these things will not be around, so.
Oh, that's sound reasoning. Okay, so could I get a motion to forward? No, could I get a motion to not move forward with the reestablishment of the Charter Revision Commission?
So moved.
Could I get a second?
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Again, it doesn't
Yeah.
mean we can't do it in the future,
Sure,
but
alright.
just right
This is
now.
not right
it's
now.
just-
Sorry, no. No, this is the sound decision. It's hard for me to say no to things. This is good. This is progress. Great. I think the motion carries. So under new business, we're having our discussion on voter redistricting update. So our registrars have provided us with an update on voter redistricting. You guys see, as you may know, the result of the 2020 U.S. Census requires that Stonington will be divided into 2 state legislative house districts rather than 1. And as has been the case before now. So voters in the north and eastern part of the town, including Pawcatuck, will be electing a representative in the 43rd district, which is currently served by Representative Greg Howard. And those who live in the borough and Mystic, south of I-95, will vote in the 41st district, which is now represented by Joe De La Cruz. So in addition to the polling places having to be adjusted to improve the voting experience, and even out the numbers of voters in each of the Stonington's districts, which we have 5 of. So the idea is that District 2, which is Pawcatuck, has twice as many voters as many of the other districts or polling locations. So their plan is to divide that one into 2 voting districts. the other adjustment will also be made to optimize access and convenience. So these yearly changes will be reviewed at a town meeting in April and will be implemented later in the year. Although a town meeting is a necessary step based on the town charter, because this action is required by state law, it's not subject to change by the town. So really, we have to do this. The registrars want to ensure that the voters are aware of these new districts and where they'll go to vote in the future. And so part of that is that voters will hopefully be able to expect to be mailed a notice of their new Connecticut House Representative districts and polling places later this year before any election takes place. And the new maps will be posted as soon as possible. They're still in the works on the town website. And residents can also stop into town hall to review them in the registrar's office, and the registrars have expanded their hours. So again, just kind of an update. This will come to us more formally next week to then pass it to a town meeting. And we'll have more of the details. They got a map back and the people did it kind of wrong, so they had to redo it. So, but they're very close to having it all detailed, and they'll have like every single street listed so you can see where you go. But yeah.
Who's, in terms of the new polling
Yes.
places, who decides that?
So the registrars are doing that now. Can we talk about that now?
No.
So the registrars are doing that now, and they're identifying, most of them will be the same, but one will probably go away in exchange for the new one in Pawcatuck, and that's kind of creating more fairness and access and equity. And like we said, it's crazy when they looked at it, that, so the old district, the new district office, the former Pawcatuck Middle School, had really twice as many of the other polling locations, and that's not good for anybody. So the idea, that was something that was important and should happen anyways, and then because this forced it, and they had to relook at locations based on these new boundary lines, they're trying to come up with a plan that could serve both purposes at the same time.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
There'll still be 5 districts?
There'll still be 5 districts. It'll just be that likely 2 of those will be on the Pawcatuck side,
And is the town meeting just for information? It's not as if.
they're gonna vote on it, they will
What
vote
if
on
it's
it.
turned down?
It's a complicated question that we're trying to get an answer from our town attorneys. Essentially, we have to have the town meeting because our town charter requires it.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, the state statute supersedes it. But they still are requiring that we go through the motion. So hopefully we'll do a good job explaining it. And I think that what the registrars have worked out, it actually will be a win-win kind of situation for most, for the majority of the town. So I think it should be good, but it will be complicated if.
I struggle with why they have to split the town.
It's so,
It's not like we're a huge town, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's like,
I think this is a national issue with redistricting, but we do want to make it really clear, this is not a local decision. We have no control, so much the Board of Education, we have, it is, this is a state decision. So, but I think they're making a really nice lemonade out of it. They're making a good situation happen. So we'll have more of this at our next meeting.
Okay.
On a happy note, we got a request for use of Donahue Park. The duck race is back. So could I get a motion to approve the request from the Ocean Community Chamber of Commerce to use Donahue Park for the 22nd annual duck race on Saturday, April 30th, 2022 from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m.
so moved.
Second?
I second.
Motion second. Any discussion?
No, it's exciting.
I'm so excited. I just remember when COVID had just hit and they were like, we'll just move it back a couple weeks. It'll be fine by then. But we're here. We're
2
gonna
years-
have it.
2 years later,
It's gonna be
right.
better. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda is comments from the selectmen. Deb, do you want to start?
Sure, I have a few
Tons of
things.
brownfield updates.
Yay, let's go. I have a couple things. First Board of Ed, and I won't be able to attend tomorrow night's Board of Ed meeting because I'm going to be going to the Board of Finance
Oh, great. Thank you. Are you sure?
deliberations.
Okay.
I'm torn unless I come late because on their agenda, they have announcing the new superintendent.
Yes.
So I may go to the Board of Ed meeting and
Yeah,
leave
that's
and go
fine.
to Board of Finance,
Yeah.
so. But that is supposedly on Friday, and I know they're also in progress doing interviews and reviews for the new high school principal. And so 2 things are coming down the pipe. I got my fingers crossed. I continue to meet with Board of Ed staff. I had a great meeting.
Oh, good.
With Kevin last week. So I'm
Thank
trying to,
you.
just
Okay, that's
get
good.
some touch
Keep
base.
build that relationship, that's good.
Yeah. So the Brownfield update, yay. So today we interviewed firms, kind of finalist firms for the Stillman Mill assessment grant. So we are moving along. We had the interviews, we intend to make a decision by the end of next week.
Okay.
So then we'll be able to get started with that. You know, we need to work with Jen, and this is just not the week to ask her to do something, so it'll be the end of next week. But we had some excellent interviews,
Oh,
so I'm
good.
very happy about that. Next week, we are doing the site visit for the boathouse park.
Yay, the RFP went out
The
on
RFP
Monday.
went out Monday.
So we're so excited.
So we'll be doing kind of a Q&A and site visit next week. So I'm going to attend that as well, so there's some continuity in that. So I'm really excited. So after the site visit, you know, they'll still get a couple, I can't remember the timeline to get the proposals in. But next month, we'll be doing the interviews for that. Because I personally, I told Susan, and Keith was there too, I think it's really important to meet the firms in person and just, you know, make sure you measure them and you can communicate with them, so that's that. So we're moving along. Just a couple other things. The beautification committee is having a bulb fundraiser. And I did see that, you put that on.
Yeah, we put it on the town
which is
website.
great.
And that's so exciting, it's such a
Yes.
good idea, I
It
think we
is.
should order some.
Yes, I know. That's what I was thinking.
Bulbs, yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And then, let's see, a lot of the other ones didn't meet, or they're just things. The library, I've been going to the
Thank you.
so that, and it's been good, they run very efficient meetings.
They do.
Yes.
They're impressive, they get
Yes.
a lot done,
They are very impressive. Wow. And then the other thing, and I will pass on the information to you, I sent you an email, it was on that webinar today, talking, it was Commissioner Mark Broughton. who
Oh, yeah, the
is
former mayor of Danbury?
Yes, who Governor Lamont has tasked with kind of heading up the state infrastructure group. So he spoke with the Connecticut Environmental Forum today. So there were a number of us who listened to him, talked about the different types of grants, and a couple of things that I thought was interesting that he brought up. And I'll pass on the information to you. One of them, he talked about some of the grants associated with Long Island Sound, a lot of the resiliency grants, and for one of them, Paul Muniz, who is with Branford, who's the one that I spoke with in the Branford Coastal
yeah,
Resiliency
yeah.
Committee, he had a good question asking about how, like, Branford is looking for grants to kind of harden their wastewater treatment plant for coastal resiliency.
Okay.
And he's like, there's hundreds of pages of documents, and how do we find these grants, and how do smaller towns that don't have a grant writer
Okay.
go ahead and do that? And Commissioner Bowden said that he would, starting next week, he can reach out to his office, and he's gonna have a staff. Now, I don't know, you know,
Yeah.
if all towns reach out to him, that isn't gonna be very helpful. He also suggested that people go to the COGS, because he's gonna be meeting with them, and that they should have some tools to help the towns, especially the smaller towns. He said it's important for municipalities to think regionally, because those will score higher.
Okay.
And that certain projects, rather than saying shovel-ready, they're not gonna, you know, there's still permits that you might have to deal with, so he's calling it like shovel-worthy,
Okay.
which I thought
But
was.
they want them to be like designed and engineered already, so.
Yes, yes, but you don't have to get the permits, which is something we were worried about with Mystic. Like, we
Yeah.
don't have all our permits, so,
Mhm.
so that's, and then the only other thing I thought was kind of interesting, somebody asked him this question, and he said, municipalities could take leftover ARPA fund money that they might want to use to match, as a match for some of these grants. And you could put them in your unreserved fund balance and indicate that it's encumbered for a potential Infrastructure Act grant match. And that way it would be okay, you know, in an audit, if that
Oh,
makes sense.
Yeah, but he said you would be allowed to just put it into your,
If you've tagged it.
oh, for that specific
Yes.
use.
You
Okay,
can't
yeah.
just
Put it in your,
Yeah.
You can't just commingle it and not identify.
Exactly, so you
Right.
have to tag it, that say we have $1 million and we intend to use this as a match
Do you
these
mind
grants.
sharing that, just so funny about this up, because it came up last night talking with Peter Anderson
Mhm.
about
The air
their
conditioning.
HVAC with their ARPA, because he said he specifically asked someone at the state that question, and they were like, ooh, we don't actually know, that's a good question, let us get back to you, and they hadn't yet, so will you
Okay.
share that with
I
him,
will
and
share
you
that
talk
with
to,
him.
and then he could share, because he was getting concerned, could they use their ARPA to ARPA, could they use their ARPA to match with the state's ARPA HVAC program, so it's good to know that the state at least is telling municipalities you can.
Yeah, because somebody asked him that question
Okay.
today,
That's very good, yeah.
and that was his answer, so I will
Okay.
share that with
Share that
Peter.
with Peter, yeah.
And again, he could reach out to him, but there may even be a tape of this meeting or slides, but he definitely said that, and I thought that was good to know, so.
Yeah.
So those are all notes.
Thank you, that's a lot of good stuff, and thank you for all your help with the brownfield stuff, it's
Oh,
really
you're
good.
welcome. I'm so excited.
I know.
It's like, oh.
It takes a long time, but sort of that. All right.
Okay.
Oh, you got a spreadsheet.
So the Commission on Aging is on May 14th, they're having a conference. I think it's going to be at the PNC, but it's a conference joint with the Commission on Aging and the Mystic Geriatric Institute. And it's all about, the focus is on caregivers. So the people who care for
Yeah.
people who are aging or need help, and so it's going to be a broad range of things. Even with identity theft and fraud and respite care and caring for yourself as a caregiver. So that's on May 14th, and I think when they get, I think they have a flyer already, and they did ask that it also be put on the town website.
Oh,
as
yeah.
notification.
Will you email that to us?
Yes,
All right.
but that's May 14th. And then planning and zoning, so a couple of great things. All right, first of all, planning and zoning voted to have a 6-month moratorium on the cannabis establishments so that they can have time to figure out which zones that these places can be in. So it's a temporary moratorium, goes into effect March 21st, and is there until September 21st. I do want to say, absolutely no one from the public showed up for this. It was a public hearing. Nobody showed up. So it was opened and then closed, and then they voted on it. So that was that one. The other thing that they also discussed was, so there's a state statute now governing accessory dwelling units
Mhm.
and residential parking regulations. So we already have regulations for that, but the planning and zoning can choose to opt out. So they're going to choose to opt out, but take a look at our current regulations and perhaps rewrite them, incorporating some of the state statute guidelines.
Okay.
So that's something that they're going to do, and I think once they choose to opt out, we have to also agree to do the same. So there was some conversation about maybe having a joint planning and zoning board of selectmen meeting, but Keith wasn't sure if it could be joint or if it had to be 2 separate days and 2 separate postings, but he's gonna find out.
Well, in the past, we've done, I think there was one where we had to be separate, but did them like back to back.
Well, they could be back
Yeah,
to
so it's
back,
just
right,
like, you know,
right.
if it's helpful, but if not, yeah.
And I thought it would be good if we were all there so we could hear what planning and zoning's arguments are, what their
Yeah.
thoughts were, so. Okay, and the last thing is that they're very, very close to signing on the consultant to rewrite our zoning regulations. And this is really important because the Planning and Zoning Commission will be interacting with the consultant at a minimum monthly. It could be part of their planning and zoning meetings, but their planning and zoning meetings can be rather lengthy. So they're thinking that this will be separate, and these will be public meetings. Okay, so there will be nothing behind closed doors, as some people think. So there will be completely public, there will be opportunity for public input every step of the way. The first step is that the consultant is going to do is to simplify our current regulations, because over the last couple of decades there have been amendments and amendments and amendments to amendments, and so just simplifying that, so if somebody wants to do something, they know exactly what they can or can't do, or where something has to be placed. That's the first step. And then the second step is to look at different parts of the regulations for possible changes. So that's where some maybe coastal resiliency might be able to come in and whatnot, so. But it's a very thoughtful and detailed and comprehensive process that the public will be allowed to come to every step of the way. So that I thought was pretty good about planning and zoning, and then what else? Oh, so the climate change task force, the climate change task force did put together a presentation for justifying, the justification for the new full-time position for the sustainability manager. And I wasn't sure if the Board of Finance had that, so I forwarded it to Jim Sullivan today. I copied both of you in on it and asked him to please forward it to the Board of Finance so they had all this information prior to deliberations.
All right, yeah.
So,
I sent them, I think the day that we presented on it, like a boiled down version of that with just some bullet points, but I didn't send that, so that was good that you
Okay.
sent the whole thing.
I mean, there's a lot of information, but it's basically saying that every town that has taken on this new position, it's paid for itself over and over and over with just the amount of grants that they've been able to capture, a benefit for their municipality. So,
And actually, thanks to Brian, they shared their job posting with me. We used a lot of the same language for a sample job posting of what it could look like, but I think it's really good.
and that is that.
All right, sounds
So,
good.
Okay?
I'll keep mine quick. The biggest thing probably, and that's why I have this up, is I just want to read it, is I think at our next Board of Selectmen meeting, really hopeful, Trust for Public Land is gonna come and kind of talk to us about the final steps, final everything. But they're basically just waiting on this final little details around the assessment value, but our allotment won't be more than 300,000. It'll actually probably be a little bit under, because I think we talked about it at a past meeting, just some changes to the assessed value based on one of the other landowners executing their right of first refusal for like a field nearby, and it changed the appraised value, so it was perfectly fine. It worked out, I think, well, but it just it caused a little hiccup in the funding kind of allotments, but good news for the town, it'll probably be a little bit less than the 300,000, and thanks to TPL, because they're obviously having to fundraise that gap in difference. But basically their update for us is that, so TPL is completing the final due diligence and hopes to have a draft survey within a week or two. So environmental, title, and appraisal work has all been completed and provided. Funds from Aquarian Water Company have been formally committed, totaling $289,000. So that's amazing, because when we first started talking to Aquarian, it looked like it might be $100,000. So this is very wonderful, and I think it also shows how important this land is to the water conservation efforts. So the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service did their public comment period. They expect that they will incorporate the comments and any relevant adjustments to the compatibility determination prior to closing. U.S. Fish and Wildlife will also be completing its own due diligence prior to closing. They said normally it takes about 3 to 4 weeks, so it closed at the end of February. So again, it's a tight timeline, but it should work. And TPL is aiming for an end of March closing, assuming all parties have reviewed and approved the due diligence. And so for our side, we still need to get kind of an MOU or contract together with TPL and Avalonia for our part of the money. So the Trust for Public Lands legal team is taking the lead on that, and we've already had a call with our town attorney and them to sort through things. So hopefully that will be, and again, it's pretty straightforward. They do these things all the time, knock on wood, but there'll be things we want to see in there, like ensuring there's off-site parking, trails are open to the public, that kind of, if they ever were to no longer exist, that we kind of have either right of first refusal or would go to another land conservation entity. But they said a lot of that's kind of already covered in state statutes for land conservation, so hopefully it'll be good. We haven't heard directly from U.S. Fish and Wildlife about the comments, so we're not sure how many or to what extent, what they look like. Like I said, they take 3 to 4 weeks to review all those comments, and then they do their process that they have established for adjusting their long document that we've all looked at. but hopefully, really by the end of the month, we might really have some good news, hopefully. So, we'll see, but if you guys have any specific questions for TPL, let me know, or let Stacy and I know, and we can be sure that's incorporated into anything they present to us in 2 weeks. Any questions on that one?
Nope.
I'm excited. Just to let you know, we worked just a couple days ago on, basically a request for a quote, so not a full RFP, just kind of a request for a quote, but to try and get some landscape architects to, provide kind of scope of work and quotes for doing, kind of a conceptual drawing for the circus lot. And that's, again, thanks to that grant that Fred Wagner came and gave us, plus a little bit of money that, the EDC had already set aside for this. And there's a little additional funds if we need it, but hopefully we won't need to. And so we're excited, so hopefully that could go out as soon as tomorrow, maybe, if not by the end of the week. And it's a kind of quick timeline based on that grant, so we'll see, hopefully we can get it to work. But then we can talk more in future meetings, but I think it'll be exciting for us to work with the EDC on having a community conversation around it, kind of see what the interest is, what are, where we go from here. And then hopefully we're also gonna have that by Friday, actually, the survey work from Trenzia for the topography and wetlands. So that'll be incorporated into the conceptual design when that happens. So that was really exciting. And then the other big, exciting, hopeful news is we got a positive letter or email today from Congressman Courtney's office, from my auntie, who's always so lovely to work with, that it looks like the earmark money is going through, like today, but I haven't seen the final, I haven't seen the final yes email, but it looks like it's going through, and he's coming actually tomorrow to Stonington. So we're actually, I think, gonna meet here at the police station and talk about the Waterloo project. And so we're really excited. Like, I don't, until we like see it 100%, I don't wanna count my eggs, chickens. But I'm so hopeful and excited. So hopefully that'll come through. And again, that was so much work from, obviously, you talked to our fire chief and their department that brought this to everybody's attention, but then Chris Greenlaw, our town engineer, and Chuck Sheehan, kind of volunteer extraordinaire, worked so hard on this. And it was just, we've had like 2 years of meetings and work on it, but we're so close. So that'll be really exciting if we can get that going. And I'll stop on a positive note. And obviously just, we've all been to all the budget hearings, and we'll head over there after this. Stacey, am I forgetting anything?
I don't think so.
Okay.